So the Biden plan, the proposed Biden plan, is $2 trillion as a leader of a county. What does that mean to you when you see a proposal for as much as $2 trillion out there? What do you think?
Well, I'm pretty excited about President Biden's plan, and I was particularly pleased that he came to Pennsylvania, to Pittsburgh, to announce that plan. Because as every resident of Pennsylvania knows, our infrastructure needs some help. I think we have a grade of C- or D+, depending on which survey you look at in terms of our infrastructure. And I think this plan is very forward-looking. I think it'll position Pennsylvania to compete in the 21st century, and will bring some long needed dollars into this state to create good-paying jobs, good-paying union jobs, and finally repair a lot of our crumbling infrastructure across the Commonwealth.
It's interesting when I look at the list that you folks were nice to give me. When you look at it, you don't typically see here, roads and bridges. I look at what you're telling me here, and your big ticket item, it seems to me, at the top is you want to finally get that SEPTA line extended out to King of Prussia. Why has that been so hard, Commissioner? Why has that been so hard?
Well, I think, this is a great example of a very forward-looking project. Getting the King of Prussia rail extension would connect the three major job centers here in the Southeast: Center City, University City, and King of Prussia. It would promote tourism by allowing people to get out to Valley Forge National Historical Park easily, come out to the Valley Forge Casino, and of course the King of Prussia Mall. So these are exactly the kind of projects that I think are envisioned with this kind of infrastructure planning. It helps the regional economy, not just in the construction of the project itself, but for decades into the future. And these types of projects are not cheap. And so we would definitely need the kind of assistance that could become available to us in an infrastructure plan of this scope to help us get this project completed.
But this project has been out there and talked about quite a lot. If it hasn't been able to be completed by local officials, why look to the federal government now? Maybe the support, while it sounds like a great plan, maybe the support isn't quite there.
Well, actually, we've made great progress on this plan, and in fact, we're almost ready to seek federal support. So there were a number of steps that had to be completed first, including an analysis of where exactly the route should be. That's done. Then we needed to get a federal environmental impact statement, respond to that, and have that finalized. And that was just finalized a couple of months ago. So now we're doing the final engineering to get this project to 30% design. In other words, it's 30% of the full design is completed. And once this is at 30% design, then we can actually go to the federal government to ask for funding. So it's not that there's been a problem getting the funding, it's that all the requisite steps that had to be completed prior to asking for that funding are just about done. I think we're within about a year, maybe even a little less at this point, of getting those steps completed so that then we can ask for federal funding. So President Biden's plan is actually quite well timed in terms of what we're looking at for this particular project.
What do you think what's the price tag on that, do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. The original price tag was around $1 billion, but that was prior to having that 30% design number. Part of getting that design to that point will give a much more certain estimate of the cost of the project.
When I look at your list, it looks to me like you folks are really focused on sort of green space and walking trails and bike trails and making sure there are solar powered lighting in these facilities. Do you think does the county lack enough of that? Why is that your focus?
Actually, just the opposite. What we hear from our constituents here is they love our bike trails and our parks. In fact, you may remember at the beginning of the pandemic, our trails were so crowded that people were clamoring for more. So this is something that we hear consistently from the people that live and recreate in Montgomery County. They love our 100 miles of trails and they want us to build more. So what's particularly, I think, forward-looking about our bike MontCo and our walk MontCo plans is that those two plans did an analysis of all of our streets and sidewalks and trails in the county. And they looked at critical roads that could serve as connectors for biking, or critical places, particularly around schools and small businesses, places like that, where sidewalks would be particularly helpful. And now going forward, when any of those roads that have been identified are undergoing repaving, either with PennDOT or as a county-owned road or street, or even in a municipality, those places have all been identified. And those opportunities for sidewalks have been identified. And we will try to work in coordination. So if there's a planned repaving of a road, for instance, we'll see if we can work a bike lane into that road so that we don't spend any extra dollars in many cases. It's just a matter of maybe a slight bit of widening, or the way that the road is laid down and the way that that road is marked. We can get a safe bike lane in there at almost no additional cost. So having those plans available to us lets us just take full advantage of every opportunity to continue to expand our trails and walkability in the county.
The Norristown Dam.
Yeah.
You would like to build a hydropower generating facility on that dam, at that dam?
So a lot of people don't even know that there is a dam across the Schuylkill River, runs between Norristown and Bridgeport, and it's been there for many, many years. And I believe at one point it was a functioning hydro-powered dam. It could produce electricity. That was many, many years ago, but some of the equipment is still there. We've had that bridge assessed, and it turns out that it could be brought up to speed into 21st century use. And it has the potential, we believe, from the studies that have been done, to provide 80% of the electricity to power our county buildings in Norristown, One Montgomery Plaza, and our Courthouse and Justice Center. So think what a tremendous savings that would be. That would be electricity that could come to us sustainable, reliable, and very, very green. So we're really hoping that we'll find a partner to help us get this project done.
But do you think there's do you think that the Biden infrastructure plan could provide federal money to that? You think that's something that could work for you?
It could be. These types of projects are absolutely listed in the president's plan. This project is estimated to cost around $25 to $30 million to do the work to get the dam up to speed, to be able to produce electricity in the quantities that we're talking about. And I would hope that there could be funding available to get some of that work done.
But is that in some ways, when you look at the $2 trillion, if it happens, is that sort of mindset here? You see what could be a once in a career amount of federal money that's going to be available to people in your position, and you think, well, here's something we'd love to do. I'm going to try that. And in some ways, it's almost like it's Christmas Day, and you're going to pick and choose what you might be able to make happen, correct?
Yeah. You know, I would characterize it a little bit differently. I think people should understand that here in Montgomery County, we have our MONCO 2040 comprehensive plan. And this was a plan that was put together at this point. I think we passed it in 2015 with input from a couple of thousand Montgomery County residents. And all of the things that I talked to you about today are contained in that plan. And then these comprehensive plans are updated every 10 to 15 years. And this is really our guide star here in the county. And the whole point of these comprehensive plans are to dream big. Like, if we could do anything we wanted, what would the people here in Montgomery County want to help create a sustainable places, vibrant places, support our local economy here? And all of these things that I've talked about with you today are in that plan. And so what I find so exciting about President Biden's proposal, it would allow us to take things that have been vetted, that have been put into a plan with lots of community input, but are big ticket items. And it would finally let us realize some of those long wished for projects.
Just a few more, if I could. I see that you both want to shore up your public housing or low-income housing for folks. And you also would like to provide more opportunity and more services to people who are homeless. Are you concerned that people who are struggling in your county are not being served as well as they could be?
Well, this has been a priority for my administration for the last 6 years, and that is making sure that no one is experiencing homelessness in Montgomery County. That's an ambitious goal. We've made a lot of progress on it. We've reduced the number of people experiencing homelessness by about 50%, but we still have a long way to go. We've actually been fortunate during this pandemic in that we have been able to get federal funding specifically for that purpose. And we have done a lot of very successful work in preventing evictions and foreclosures and utility shutoffs and helping a number of people get rehoused during this pandemic. But we need to continue this work because we still have many others that have not yet been served. One of the biggest barriers is the fact that here in Montgomery County, we do not have a lot of housing available to people with modest incomes. So I would love to be able to use some of this funding to create more opportunities so that everybody that wants to be housed safely and securely can be. One of our biggest problems is people who are working, they're low income, but they just can't afford to be housed here in this county.
The criticism of Biden's plan, and it's come mostly from Republicans, there are some, at least one Democrat who apparently is bothered by it, is the critics say it's just too big and it's going for projects that are not solely infrastructure. That's going to be the argument against it. What's your argument to that?
I think when you look at this plan comprehensively, and for instance, the items that we've talked about today, all of these items are critical to our economy. They are critical to the competitiveness of not just Montgomery County, but Pennsylvania and our country. And it is forward-looking in that it will finally build the infrastructure in this country to prepare us for our future. Our electric grids, for instance, are just woefully outdated. We need to change the composition of how we're getting our power in this country. We need to make sure that people have transportation alternatives that suit their needs and their lifestyles and get them from where they live to where the jobs are located. So I think the forward-looking nature of this plan and the comprehensive nature of this plan suits the 21st century. Our infrastructure isn't just about roads and bridges anymore. It's about making sure that everybody has access to broadband internet. We saw what a problem that was in this last year during the pandemic. These are just basic tools of competitiveness in the 21st century. So I'm excited that the president's plan is broad.
Last question I have for you. When you look at that multifaceted list you've given me, you have a ballpark in terms of, have you guys looked at that list and said, here's the cost? If we were to get every one of these, and we know we can't, but if we were to get them all, here's what it might mean to us in terms of support. You
know, I don't have that number for you. I'm sorry.
Have you looked at it from the size of your county and looked at the $2 trillion? And have you thought about what might be your cut? What could be your allotment?
No, I haven't.
Have you dreamed about it? Have you dreamed about what?
The bill hasn't even passed yet, so
right.
It's really hard to get to that granular level of detail.
Yeah. Well, and then this. Would you be involved in trying to, lobby for that? I mean, as a county executive of a large county, would you go to the Hill? Would you talk to members and say, here's what could happen here?
Yeah, well, we've already begun that process. I've had conversations with Senator Casey and Congresswoman Dean about priority projects here in Montgomery County. I've also talked to some of our delegation in Harrisburg about it. People are eager to know what's top of mind for Montgomery County. It's the third largest county in the Commonwealth, and our elected representatives are excited to be able to lift up some of these projects if the opportunity is there.
Great. Hey, thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Thanks,
Appreciate
Jeff.
it.